Hello, this is Joe Polish, president of Piranha Marketing and founder of the Genius Network interview series, and you're about to hear one of my Genius Network interviews, and I just want to thank you for taking the time to listen to this, and I hope you find it very useful. If you want to find out more information about some of the interviews and resources that can help you in your business, you can go to www.joepolish.com. And we have a Joe Polish Recommends section with all kinds of resources and vendors and services and products that we recommend that can help you in your business. And also for more useful interviews and a whole list of other people that I've interviewed, you can go to www.geniusnetwork.com. Thanks and enjoy the interview.
Hello, this is Joe Polish, founder of Piranha Marketing and the Genius Network, and today I'm going to be having a fantastic conversation with a good friend of mine and an absolutely brilliant entrepreneur by the name of MaryEllen Tribby. MaryEllen, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you great. Hi, Joe.
How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm fantastic. And so, you've got a cool website that's going to be launching here soon. You are a phenomenal business builder. Let me just give everyone some background of who you are. So who is MaryEllen Tribby? Then I'm going to ask her some questions. She is the proud founder and CEO of WorkingMomsOnly.com, the leading newsletter and website for the empowerment of the working mom. Prior to founding Working Moms Only, MaryEllen was widely recognized as publisher and CEO of Early to Rise, where she was responsible for growing the business from $8 million in sales to $26 million in sales in just 15 short months. Before that, she served as president of Weiss Research, where she led the company to $67 million in sales from $11 million in just 12 months. Today, because of her impressive track record of generating revenues and profits, she's known in the info publishing world as the Money Honey, but credits a good part of her success to her traditional New York City publishing career. There, she not only ran divisions at Forbes, Times Mirror Magazine, and Crane's New York Business, but had some of the best direct response marketing mentors in the world. Due to her superlative direct response skills and her ability to channelize marketing campaigns, MaryEllen is a highly sought-after business consultant, speaker, and author. Her first book, which she co-authored with Michael Masterson, Changing the Channel, 12 Easy Ways to Make Millions for Your Business, hit #1 on Amazon in just 10 hours of its release. MaryEllen currently resides in Boca Raton, Florida, with her husband of 13 years and their 3 beautiful children, Michaela, Connor, and Delaney.
And as of Saturday, our brand new puppy, Coco.
Coco. Well, this interview would not even be complete without mentioning Coco. So,
right.
Anyway, you hang out in Florida, you do a lot of cool stuff, you've made millions of dollars for companies you've worked with, for, and that you've built, and there are literally, God knows how many thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs have made money as a result of your advice. You are awesome. I've seen you speak several times. We've hung out with Richard Branson in a private setting recently and did a brainstorm group where, you and him totally hit it off. And you're phenomenal. I mean, you just have done so many cool things, and on top of that, you teach women how to be, great entrepreneurs and lead a balanced life with all of the stuff on their plate. So, I mean, what else? I know you raise money for foundations, and you have a lot of important causes. So, to you, business is more than just making money. It's about funding and building a life and creating great contribution in the world, and those are some of the things I want to talk to you about today. So what else didn't I mention that people need to know about you before we teach people how to make some money?
Well, for me, it's all about having that balance in life. And when you have real balance in life, there is no difference between work and fun. Like you said, when we were hanging out with Richard Branson, was that work or was that fun? Well, that was both, right? I mean,
right.
So that's when you know that you've got the life you want to have, is when you're just doing things that are making your business money, but that's what you want to be doing. And that's the key, especially with WorkingMomsOnly.com. Working moms have this incredible influence and responsibility, and they've got to get to a point where they've got the life they want to live.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think out of all of the different things and individuals and people in the United States and probably worldwide, the hardest working people have got to be working mothers and single mothers raising children.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think what you're doing is phenomenal. Out of all of the different things that you could focus and spend your time on, and you being a mother, why did you resonate with working moms? I mean, why has that become your core group, your core audience that you want to help? And I know you're so darn passionate about it.
I am. Well, because, I've been so blessed, right? I have 3 great kids, and they're healthy, and they're smart, and they're compassionate. They're good kids. And I'm very fortunate. I have a wonderful spouse. I have a wonderful partner. And so, when I would run companies, I'd be CEO of a $70 million company or a $30 million company, but I'd also be speaking around the world and writing books. And a lot of times working moms would come up to me and they would say, how can you do this? How do you do it? And you know what? You can do it. It's just that you really have to understand the tools. And that's why I want to give working moms the tools, because they deserve the tools because of the responsibility that they have in this world. And you know what? We can have it all. You don't have to pick one or the other. You don't have to pick between your husband, your kids, and your career. I know my kids are better. They're better off because I have a career that I'm great at and that I believe in and that I have causes. And my kids can do anything because of that. So it's just something I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to go out there and start this company, and finally it's come to fruition. And it's just going to be, within the year, I'm going to have a community of 1 million working moms.
Yeah, and you're able to do that. And I want to say this right at the very beginning here, that it does not matter if you're not a working mom. I mean, you can be a guy running a business, starting up a business. MaryEllen is amazing and so knowledgeable and has such a track record of, I shouldn't just say successes. You've had giant successes, but anyone that will tell you the truth, and you're one of those people that will tell the truth, will tell you there's many, many failures that you have to figure out, and mistakes that are made you have to go through in order to get to the successes. And it does not matter who you are. You are a full-blown direct response marketer, and you know how to make people money, and clearly your track record has proven that. And so, I want everyone to, assuming you're not driving, make sure you have something to write on, because you're going to want to take notes, because I can assure you I'm going to ask MaryEllen some questions, and she's going to give you some really, really awesome tips. And she also has her site, which has a lot more, which I'll recommend everyone check out at workingmomsonly.com. And last thing I'm going to say before we get into money-making stuff, I heard you say in a presentation at Delray Beach at one of the Early to Rise events that I recently attended and I was speaking at, which you invited me to. You said 150 million homeless children are out there, and you believe working mothers have more influence on the world than anything, and that's one of the things that motivated you to purchase the domain Working Moms Only before you even launched it.
Yes. I mean, when you think about that, like I said, I have 3 kids, and my 9-year-old son, couldn't survive a night in the backyard, and I'm not kidding about this. Yet there are 6-year-olds and 7-year-olds and 8-year-olds on the street. They do not have a home. Many do not have any parents looking after them, and this is just fundamentally wrong. And so in conjunction with Working Moms Only, we have a foundation called the Good News Kids, and that's going to go to build sanctuaries for children, not orphanages, but sanctuaries where they can feel safe and secure and actually be tucked in at night by somebody who loves them. So it was just something that, it's at a point in my life, I've been really fortunate. I've gone through the corporate career, the entrepreneur career, and it's the time that, the consciousness has been raised, and, I have to give back.
Gotcha. That's great. So, one thing, there's so many different things I can talk to you about, but I'm going to really focus it on making business work and doing it with the least amount of stress and work and hardship and mistakes as one can avoid. And that's why I want to borrow your expertise and your brain on our conversation here. So I've heard you say the biggest entrepreneurial curse is having 4 projects, or, name the multiple amounts, but let's just say 4 projects halfway done yield 0 revenue, 1 project 100% finished brings cash in the door. And we live in a day and age where there are so many things vying for our attention. I mean, there's even a book that was written called The Attention Economy, and people's attention is everywhere. And I think that statement, the biggest entrepreneur curse, which you said, 4 projects halfway done yields nothing, 1 project 100% finished brings cash in the door. Can you speak to that? Because I think before we go into techniques and methods and list building and offers and copy and all of these things I'm going to ask you about, what do you mean by that?
Okay, well, this is something I've seen for years and years and years, and a lot of people, almost kind of joke about it and say, well, I'm a serial entrepreneur. But that's not what a serial entrepreneur is. Basically, I see this all the time, that people get a great idea to launch a new product, whether it's an internet marketing product or a health product or a financial product or write a book or write an ebook, and they start on this project. And, halfway through, something else hits them. Another great idea hits them. So they put that first project to the side and they start on the second one. Then halfway through that, the next, great idea hits them. So in the meantime, they've got 3, 4, 5 projects that are almost complete, but that's doing nothing for their bottom line. It's doing nothing for their business. And what it is actually doing, it's frustrating everyone around them. They're, if they've got a team, their entire team is frustrated and miserable at this point because they know that these 4 other great ideas are yielding 0 revenue to the bottom line of that organization. Meanwhile, they're trying to manage that entrepreneur on their next project. So, you know what? I'm not a big planner, but I believe in a timeline and just putting that visual representation out there, a timeline for your projects so that you can get it done, market it, move on. It doesn't mean that you can't work on multiple projects, in the same time period, but you've got to have a timeline for that project so that on X date it's done, it's yielding money for your company.
How do you actually come to that mindset-wise first? Because there certainly are the mechanics, and there's lots of support materials, including many that you've created that assist people in their thinking. Mindset-wise, when someone is excited about different things. Let me just be very transparent here. I mean, I'm a guy that's always loved bright, shiny objects. I mean, when I hear about a new opportunity, oh my God, I get excited about it. I think it's super cool, and I see opportunities in everything. And I see so many different options. And the challenge is when you have 1,000 options, you don't have any options. That's what a good friend of mine, Richard Branson, says. That's why it so resonates with me when I hear you talk about this, and when I've seen you say this in audiences filled with hundreds of people, everyone shakes their head, and this is something that everyone relates to, especially now when the internet and there's so many different things to read, look at. How do you get to that point where you just narrow your focus and can stick with something?
This is what I do. We were talking before, I'm a big believer in working out, and that's the first thing I do every single day. I work out, and whether at the gym on the elliptical, the tread, or if I'm riding my bike or whatever I'm doing, I'm thinking about ideas. So when I come back from, working out in the morning, the first thing I do is I have a list, and I go to my list on my computer about the ideas and the projects I want to work on, and I make sure I outline what I just thought about and I get it down there, okay? And so it's there for the day. I haven't lost it. I know what it is. And then I continue on what I'm working on. And then at the end of every single week, I look at that list and I prioritize. And so what may happen while I'm creating the product that I'm working on and that's coming to fruition, the order in which I work on the next one may change, and that's okay because I haven't started working on them yet.
Okay, I got you.
So don't lose it, and that's what everybody thinks. If they don't do it right now, they lose it. But it's not gone forever. Gosh, like I said, I bought the URL workingmomsonly.com, 2.5 years ago. It was always on the back burner. It was there. I thought about it. I wrote things about it, every day. But I was concentrating. I had a commitment to Early to Rise, and I knew I wanted to fulfill that commitment to Early to Rise, to my team, to Michael Masterson, and so, but I didn't lose this project.
So it's just not guilting yourself into thinking you got to do it right now. It's just prioritizing.
Absolutely, and that's what life, and that's what a balanced life comes down to. Making. We all have the same 24 hours in a day, right? Nobody gets more hours. We all have that. It's what we do with those hours that makes us, that hits our success meter.
Well, out of all of the things that you've learned in hanging around some of the most successful people on the planet, having created a tremendous amount of success for yourself, what are some of the biggest attributes of successful entrepreneurs that make it and failures that may work really hard but just never get any traction, never get it off the ground?
Well, by far, the first thing is it's not, this is why most entrepreneurs fail, right? It's not because they don't do the work, it's because they do the wrong work, okay?
The wrong work.
And it was so funny. I was writing last night a story about how I started creating my business, from scratch, from my house, this brand new business. And I was saying that a friend of mine, she quit her corporate job to become a marketing consultant. And the first thing she did was she went out and she rented office space. And I said, why are you renting office space? And she goes, the housing market, it's in the crapper. I can get office space for $1,500 a month that would normally cost me $5,000 a month. Okay? So she spent a month and a half looking for space. Then she spent another couple of weeks decorating the space. Okay? Meanwhile, She didn't work on a website. She didn't work on a sales page. She didn't work on, cultivating clients, any of that stuff. In those 6 weeks that, she started that business, basically, she had an office with no revenue coming in the door. My first same 6 weeks, I have a great laptop. I can take it anywhere. I work by my pool. I work in my dining room. I work wherever I want. What do I have? I have a website. I have customers. I have a sales letter. I have product. Okay? So you've got to prioritize, in business it's the same thing. What's going to yield you money? And so, that's why, Michael Masterson taught me, this ready, fire, aim approach. You don't just aim. You just go, you fire, you ready, aim, fire. Ready, fire, aim. So that you just do it, you see what works, you see what sticks. In Changing the Channel in the book, we have a whole section on, failed product launches. Why do they fail? Because people spend, hundreds of thousands of dollars developing a product before they even know if it's going to resonate with the market. As a marketer, you have to assume that you know nothing. The market will tell you, they tell you what they want. And, of course, most people market to what people think they need. And you don't market to what people need. You market to what people want.
That is such a difficult thing for non-marketers to get and so obvious to marketers. And I wanted to ask you, what is your definition of marketing? Because I think that is one word that is so critical in business. I personally think it is the most important skill set to develop and spend your time mastering, because that's where all the money comes from. And it is also one of these skills that is misinterpreted. There's a lot of dumb marketing in the world. There's a lot of ineffective marketing in the world. And there's a lot of people that teach a lot of that ineffective marketing and call themselves experts. And a lot of people think that, I don't want to have to learn how to market this stuff or have to sell something, as if it's a bad word, which I think is hysterical. So what's your definition of marketing?
Okay, so first, the whole broad term of marketing is essentially, the process associated with promoting the sales or goods or services in exchange for money, right? So that's the broad, marketing definition. But what we do is direct response marketing, which is very different from branding. Direct response marketing is designed to solicit an immediate response that's specific and quantifiable, okay? So that basically means dollar out, dollar in. You send something out the door. When it comes back, you know how it came back, and it comes back immediately. It's very different from branding, which is kind of that, creating an image, something the customer remembers. The next time they need sneakers, they're going to remember you. They're going to remember Nike. But what we do is we want to send something out the door, direct response marketing, and get a response back immediately.
Gotcha. Well, so direct response, I've never seen a situation, and of course I've not been to college for years, and I don't know if you know this, but I failed owning and operating a small business when I went to a community college, so I've never gotten any real college education per se. And I remember the little bits that I was taught. It was always brand building and big, huge, large corporations that had large sums of money to dump down a black hole, and that would be what they're trying to teach, people that aren't even in business yet about what marketing and advertising is. So there's so many things that already leave people with a handicap and a misperception of what they should do. You have a chapter in your book you did with Michael Masterson, Changing the Channel, which is direct response television, why Super Bowl ads don't work. I wanted you to just comment on that statement, why Super Bowl ads don't work. What do you mean by that?
Oh, they're just, they're ads to the masses, right? They're ads to the masses, and they have no particular intent. Again, they're going out there, hopefully, they're thinking somebody will remember me someday, and every Super Bowl ad loses money. These kind of ads are created by advertising agencies, and most advertising agencies aren't direct response marketers. They're out to win the big awards. They're out to win, that was the funniest commercial I've ever seen, or that was the most beautiful direct mail package. They're not talking. When they win awards, it has nothing to do with the response and the success of their ads or their direct mail packages or their email campaigns. It only has to do with the look and feel of their ad. And so Super Bowl ads don't work because no one, is out there tracking results for this. there was one ad that was a couple of years that ran on Super Bowl, and it was for a website, and it was like the only direct response marketing ad through Super Bowl. And and you get all those emails all the time, Joe, that they're so fake and they're so phony, and you hate getting them, email marketers that say, oh, I'm extending this because, the response was overwhelming and it crashed my server. And that's always really insulting to me because, our subscribers are much, much smarter than that.
Right.
But this was the one time where they just did not anticipate, how successful their ad would be because they were brand new, because they were direct response marketers. They had never done TV before. They had always done mail or email. So they'd never done TV, and it worked because it's direct response. So it really did crash their servers. They actually were successful with their ad because it was a direct response marketing ad, not this big branding, image-building ad.
Yeah, that's great. And what I love about this is just whenever someone with a track record and with experience can, challenge the mass assumption of what advertising and marketing is all about and prove that a lot of people are wrong. A lot of big companies, the way they're successful has very little to do with their quote-unquote, marketing and advertising. It has to do with deep pockets and years of stuff. There's a lot of large companies that were started with direct response, and that's what gave them a foothold. And then once they got their roots in the ground, for some bizarre reason, they changed to, image advertising and brand building.
Right.
And people think, oh, that's why they're successful. That's why McDonald's is really big, and that's why, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, so that's great. So the point and the reason I wanted to bring that up right from the very beginning is wherever you're at in your business, if you're an experienced business owner, if you're a working mom that wants to start a business, learn direct response. That's what's going to be the fuel. And you've worked with some incredible copywriters and direct response marketers, and so I wanted to. You talk about mastering the key elements guaranteed to boost response in any marketing campaign, and you talk about lists, you talk about offers, you talk about copy, and I wanted to ask you about all three of those things. If you could kind of go through that, those key elements, because those are so crucial.
These are the most crucial elements in all of your marketing campaigns. These are the only three factors that you need in every single campaign, regardless whether that campaign is on TV, on the Internet, in the mail, on the phone. It doesn't matter. You have to understand your list, your offer, and your copy. So, and this is the funny part. Everybody, if you ask 10 people, what's the most important part of those three things, 9 people will say to you the copy is the most important part. And here again, guess what? It's not. The most important part of any single marketing campaign are your lists. And when you say list, basically your audience. Who are you reaching? Who are you going after? And I love to do this fun little thing because it kind of drives the point home, because people say, oh, no, that's not true. It's the copy. And I'm going to prove to you right now it is the list. So, Joe, let's pretend that I am selling these wonderful, beautiful brassieres. And for the sake of this exercise, I have the best copy in the world. Okay? I have the best copy in the world for these brassieres. And I'm going to sell you a brassiere, right? And the offer is fantastic because, well, first let's talk about the benefits of this brassiere. This brassiere is going to make you look 10 pounds slimmer, okay? It's going to guarantee that it attracts a man in your life in the next 30 days, or you'll double your money back, and I'm only going to charge you $9.95. Are you going to buy this brassiere from me?
Well, no, because I'm a dude.
Exactly. So is that my point? You are the wrong list. You are the wrong audience. I have the best copy. And not only that, I'm going to actually give you 3 brassieres for $9.95. Not just white, but red, black, and leopard, right? But you're still not biting because you are not the audience.
Well, with the leopard, you're now getting me excited.
Okay, see, I should have stopped all this. But you're not my audience, okay? So you can have fantastic copy and a great offer, but if you don't go to the right audience, your campaign will not work. Okay? So the next most important element in any campaign is actually your offer. Okay? You could have great copy and you'd be going right to the right people. But if you botch up that offer, you're not going to get the results. This is where a lot of entrepreneurs make mistakes because they don't spend enough time on crafting their offer and in changing the channel. And if we have time here, I've got 10 tests that your offer should pass to make sure it's effective. Okay?
Well, I want to come back to those because I think a 10-test thing would leave everyone listening to us bedazzled with valuable, actionable stuff. So
Good. Okay. Copy is the third most important element. But now here's the funny part, because everybody always hears this. Here's this line that copy is king, and it is king. And it's king because copy is actually the most creative and the most difficult to accomplish. Offer and list are a scientific part of your marketing. Copy is the creative part, and that's why they say copy is king. So you've got to understand these three elements. This is what I call the holy grail of marketing. List, offer, and copy.
yeah, Greg, can I comment on that too? Because when I first started in my business years ago, I tried a bunch of different things in the very beginning. What I ended up stumbling on and sticking with, and you know my story, but some people don't that would be listening to us. I started out as a dead broke carpet cleaner,
right,
funding my business off credit cards. I did a good job. I got certified, went and got training. There actually is training on how to be a professional cleaner, and there's a lot to it like any industry. And I was good at what I was doing, and I treated people well, and the problem was I was broke. And the positive mental attitude and all of the things that I was reading and doing and being good at delivering a great service, that was irrelevant if I didn't have people paying me money. And so I literally survived on credit cards, and I was going deeper and deeper into debt. And in the process of trying to switch into another business or looking at other opportunities, some person said to me, well, if other people are making money in your industry and you're not, there's nothing wrong with the business you're in. There's something wrong with you. And that really stuck with me. And
right.
I got to figure out what the heck am I not doing. And what I discovered what I wasn't doing is I just simply didn't know how to sell. I didn't know how to market. And, what you just went through, list, offer, copy, that was my first introduction into figuring out how to make a business work. There's this saying that Dan Kennedy says is, many people say it, but I first heard Dan Kennedy say it back in the early 90s, where the best message in the world is useless if you shout it at deaf ears. And that's exactly your example with the brassiere that you just talked about. You could have the best offer, the best message to me, the best copy, but, I'm deaf ears to that because I'm not interested in that.
Yep.
And so list is critical, and so many people, mediocre copy will perform fantastic if you have a starving audience. But for the most part, when you combine a great list, a great offer, and great copy, you have an advantage that 99.9999% of business owners never have because they simply won't learn this. And that's what's so great about you, MaryEllen, is that you not only have mastered this, you're taking it to working moms and out of all of your experience of taking it to entrepreneurs in general. And what I'll say on copy is, copy is the oxygen that makes your advertising and your marketing, be it online or offline, work. And before we go deeper into it, and I do want you to talk about the 10-test thing you mentioned, I want you to talk about a couple of people that you've worked with so that people understand the depth and the importance of these items. One, Michael Masterson, and then two, copywriter. Many copywriters,
yep.
Ferriss, Clayton Makepeace. I'd like to, talk about them because I'm going to make sure that Clayton and Ferriss both listen to this interview. So.
Well, let's actually start with Clayton, because Clayton, I've known for 10 years and is one of my dearest friends. And I met Clayton when I went to work for Weiss Research. And when I started at Weiss, I started as a marketing director. I didn't start as a president. But this was the funny part, because it's just exactly what we talked about. Clayton was there, and he was writing copy. And this is direct mail days. This was before big Internet days. And when Clayton was writing copy, they couldn't mail more than 10,000 pieces a month because the person doing the list selection at the time just couldn't get it out there. They didn't understand the process and the scientific, the science behind list selection. And so I go to Weiss, and I take over, doing the list. And now Clayton's writing the copy. And we literally go from 10,000 pieces a month to 1 million pieces a month to 2 million pieces a month to 3 million pieces a month. Okay? Same copy as before I got there, with when they're mailing 10,000 pieces. But here we go to 3 million pieces a month. Okay? And, and this is the key. I mean, when we did this, and then we'll get back to copy here a little bit, because, this is when you have great copy, when you're willing to put it in the mail, right? That's when you know you have great copy. A lot of people online now, they confuse themselves by thinking, well, it's pretty much free for me to send this copy out, so it doesn't have to be great. But one of your tests for knowing that if you have good copy and to send it to your email list is saying to yourself, would I put this in the mail? Because if you put it in the mail, then it's going to cost you 50 cents to every single person that you mail it to. So if you're going out to 100,000 people or 200 or 500,000 people, you're dropping $250,000. And so, but people, entrepreneurs confuse themselves saying, well, it's not costing me anything. So even though the copy kind of sucks and they know it does, I'm going to send it anyway. But what you're doing is, one, it's a huge opportunity cost for your list. And two, it's kind of insulting for your subscribers. So before you send your copy out, say, would I put it in the mail? That kind of just raises the bar a little bit. Okay, so Clayton is... I'm sorry, Joe. Go ahead.
No. I mean, you what you just said, where it could be insulting to your audience, it just reminds me of almost like how a romance could go bad because you think you don't need to say hello anymore, or
right.
I love you, or send a little card or bring flowers every once in a while. It's like it doesn't much matter. And what I think, because you basically were raised in the direct mail world, and you saw people in your own money putting literally thousands of dollars, in some cases millions of dollars spent on marketing. That's one of the biggest mistakes that I see internet marketers that didn't grow up in that world. Is they're just promiscuous with how they put stuff out there, and they don't think about it because they've never had to put their money on the line. But what you've just stated is you're losing money because you're destroying the reputation and the bond you have with your list if you just are just throwing stuff together.
Yeah, and one of the things about copy is what you have to understand about copy more than anything else is the architecture of copy, right? How copy is supposed to flow. What's the job of a subject line? What's the job of a headline? What's the job of the first line in your lead? And when you understand the architecture of your copy, then the copy will really come together. And I think, if we want to give everybody a resource, probably the best book on that is Breakthrough Advertising by Gene Schwartz. Right?
Yeah, unbelievable. I sell it at my office. Got a boardroom. It's unbelievable.
So one of the best books. I mean, if you are in the business, if you're an entrepreneur and you're selling direct response online or on TV or radio or in the mail, you have to read this book. It's one of the books that when I CEO of Early to Rise, every single person who came into my company to work there, I had them read the book before they started.
That's great. Breakthrough Advertising by Gene Schwartz. Okay, so you were going to say Clayton Makepeace before I rudely interrupted you there.
Okay, so Clayton was one of the, and I've learned, and the best thing about Clayton was, he's just not a copywriter. He's a marketing strategist. So I learned a lot from Clayton. We were partners. We essentially spoke every single day, at 7:30 in the morning. That's how our day started, to make sure that one, because with copywriters you need to keep them on track, that we, had Clayton on track, and just to brainstorm, first thing in the morning. So it's just a great way to work with your copywriters. So I learned a lot from Clayton. Another great entrepreneur that I learned a lot from, and most people probably won't know him, is Dick Benson, who is, real old-time direct marketer king. This is the guy who, he was teaching the Gary Pennsylvanias and the John Carltons and the Claytons. So Dick Benson, read anything by Dick Benson. Of course, he passed away, years ago, and he was in his late 90s, I believe. So, but the most brilliant, probably one of the most brilliant direct marketers ever to live. I had the opportunity when I was in New York, working at Forbes and Cranes and Times Square magazines to actually work with him, and he's an amazing person.
That's phenomenal because a lot of people may not know these names, but these are the giants of the marketing world. And when you get an opportunity to learn and work directly from those people, and you pay attention and you take to heart, how could you not become incredibly skilled? And that's why individuals like yourself, when you now are out there teaching and sharing what it is you've learned, because a lot of those people, they never really spent a lot of their career teaching other people. They were out just working. Gene Schwartz was, a secret weapon for Boardroom Inc., which you're friends with everyone at Boardroom, as am I, Marty Edelston and Brian Kurtz and Margie and all those people. And, there's incredible techniques and methods, and now that's what you're actually teaching Working Moms Only, which has never been brought, this sort of insight and knowledge to the world before. Clayton is an example. One thing I'd like to ask you about, most people, when they think of the business heroes of the world, they see famous CEOs and people that have written books and, that sort of stuff. But rarely do copywriters get the recognition, or even copy in general, that it deserves. I mean, some companies that are gigantic were built on good copy and a sales letter. Let's take, one of my clients, Bill Phillips, who created, company EAS. Well, he bought the company EAS and built it to a giant multi-million-dollar sports supplement company. He wrote a book called Body for Life. That entire company, when he first started it, he sold it for $300 million after he built it up over a couple-year period. But it was all built with direct response marketing, all with sales letters, all with promotions. And most people would never have any idea that many of these companies even exist. And what could you say about copywriters and copy in general? Why do you think it's just not one of the main things that would be taught in, say, in a marketing course in college? Or, I mean, when someone starts a business, like the difference between rich or being broke could be a really awesome sales letter, a great copy in direct mail, on a website, on an email. Why doesn't it get the respect and acknowledgement that it so not only deserves, but is so critical to someone's success?
It is so critical, and it's amazing that people have this fear against. I'll tell another story. When I was at Weiss and I was working with Clayton, people were pissed that we were paying him so much money, and I would say to him, "Do you get it? Do you get that this money wouldn't be coming in the door if we didn't have a great copywriter? A great copywriter is like a brain surgeon or a heart surgeon, right?
Right.
There's a lot of copywriters out there that are almost like kind of that general doctor, that general MD. And then a great copywriter, which there are a handful, are like that brain surgeon. And they can do things other copywriters cannot do.
You're so right. I mean, Marty Edelston, when I interviewed him, he's a founder of Boardroom, he's like, I pay my copywriters more than I pay myself.
Yes.
Running a $100 million a year company, and he has that attitude, and he's like, and I'm glad to do it because they deserve it. And how many business owners not only don't have that attitude, but it wouldn't even cross their mind. I mean, for some people, this is the first time they've even heard a statement like what you just said.
Right. I mean, it does. It blows my mind that people object to this. But if you want to make money, then you've got to get a great copywriter. And to get a great copywriter, you've got to understand good copy.
How does one know what good copy is? I mean, clearly they could read your book and they can go through your website and they could start learning it, which I hope everyone does. I mean, what are some ideas? I mean, how do you know?
The best thing that you could do is, there's things out there that are called swipe files, right?
Uh-huh.
And a lot of people have them. Clayton has them, AWAI has them, John Carlton has them, and basically they're files of great copy that, and they're going to quantify it. They're going to say, this sales letter generated, $1 billion. This sales letter generated $100 million. And they're going to tell you what worked. And when you start looking at sales letters, really successful sales letters, you're going to see, what they have in common. Again, you're going to see that they follow the same architecture, right? They all start with a great, headline. A headline and lead is 80%, right? 80% of people buy from just reading the headline and lead. They don't even get into the body, okay? So a great headline and lead is the most important thing you can do in copy. So you're going to notice, how many sentences a great headline is, how many paragraphs is a great lead, what's incorporated there, do they have, benefits and credibility and track record and proof, are all those things incorporated into that lead? Okay, so but you've got to do your research. Just get some swipe files, look at great sales letters, see what they have in common. You'll be able to recognize that. The other thing is, I wrote a great article that's on WorkingMomsOnly.com that's called, something like the Marketing Director's Guide to Working with Outside Copywriters. Because you're not going to always get a Clayton. Well, I mean, you probably won't get a Clayton, right? Or you won't get a John Carlton or somebody like that. But you will get good copywriters. And if you go out and hire them, you want a copywriter who understands direct response marketing, right? You want a copywriter who asks for royalties. It doesn't mean you're always going to pay them royalties, but if they don't think their copy is worth royalties, you don't want to work with them, right?
That is a great statement, because a lot of people I talk to that are business owners are like, well, how can I get a copywriter, a cheap one, without having to pay royalties? And I'm just like, Why the hell would you not want your copywriter incentivized by results?
Right. The other thing you want to look for is you want a copywriter who knows the results of copy for their other clients. People, and I've said, well, how, they said, I've written for American Express, and I've written for Disney, and I've written for this, and I said, well, how did that copy do? And they said, oh, I don't know. Somebody you want to work with, right? You want somebody who's interested in your success, not a one-time. Again, it's relationships. It's building any relationship. You don't want a one-night stand here. You want a long-term relationship.
That's great. No, such good advice. So, yeah, everyone should go to your website and read that article because I do not write a lot of my copy. I hire other copywriters to do it. I've learned how to write copy. It's painful for me, but it takes time. It's a skill. I think one of the reasons people don't learn it is they're not willing to take the time to actually do it. But, you can find and hire copywriters, and in many cases they will be the difference between being successful and not successful. And however you need to crank out and create killer copy, get it done. If that means you learn how to do it yourself, and I know, MaryEllen, that you guide people through it. I mean, if they read Changing the Channel, they would learn a tremendous amount about this. If they would read any of the books that you already mentioned, I certainly have interviewed John Carlton and Ferriss, and I'm going to interview Clayton, and I've interviewed Gary Halbert and Kennedy, and you name it. And I love copy. I mean, copy again is the oxygen. I mean, I think it's so critical. Okay, well, you talked about the 10 tests that your offer must have in order, I guess, to be effective.
Yep.
So what are they?
All right, let's go through them. The first one is, is your offer specific? Will the prospect understand exactly what they get and how to get it? Okay. Number 2, is your offer exclusive? Are you making your offer only to a select few, or you're making the same offer to everybody? Is your offer valuable? Will your prospects perceive your offer to be value to them? Your offer might be inexpensive for you to make, but it must have high perceived value to your customers. Is your offer unique? Is the deal you're offering only available through your business? Okay? Is your offer useful? Your offer can be exclusive, but unless it's unique, it's not useful. Is your offer relevant? Do the prospects actually want what you're offering them? Is your offer plausible? Some offers, sound too good to be true, so that kind of makes, sometimes it's going to make you look a little silly. Number 8, is your offer easy to acquire? And I've seen this, in this time after time, people have this great copy, and they don't give their prospects a way to buy it, right? They make them go through 24 pages before they actually, let them buy. Make sure you're offering to let them buy throughout the copy. Make sure your 800 numbers are clear. Make sure your links are working, all those kind of things.
So don't have the sales prevention department running your show.
Exactly. Yes. Number 9, is your offer urgent? Do you have a deadline? Do you have an early bird special? Are you going to only let, 100 people in, 250 people in? And then last, does your offer have a guarantee? This without a doubt strengthens your offer. I just said before, right? If I'm selling brassieres and they don't make you look 10 pounds slimmer, I'm not just going to give their money back. I'm going to double their money back. Make sure you guarantee that no one can resist. So if you can pass all 10 of those little tests, you're going to have a dynamite offer.
So so number 1 is specific. Number 2 is what's number 2 again?
Number 2 is exclusive.
Exclusive. Okay, and then you got and number 3 is valuable. Number 4 is unique. 5 is useful. 6 is relevant. 7 is plausible. 8 is easy to acquire. 9 is urgent, and 10 is guarantee.
Yep.
So I just want to point this out. So if people use this as a checklist, every time they're sitting down and they're going to make an offer to someone to buy their stuff or visit their website or whatever the call to action is. This could be for profit or it could be raising money for a charity.
Absolutely.
If they really went through this, what do you think this would actually do in terms of increasing the possibility and chances that they're going to have success with people taking them up on their offer?
Oh my gosh! I just wrote a sales letter the other night, and I actually took out the same presentation that I have right in front of me right now, just because I can't remember everything that's in my book or anything I've ever written, so I actually took this out. I have it, bound, in a binder. I took it out and I went through everything, and I'm like, ooh, guess what? You know what? I don't know if this is urgent enough, and I had to go back into my offer and rewrite it. So, I mean, these are things you have to do. If you're only doing one or two of these out of the offer, it's not enough. It's not enough.
Gotcha. Well, so, if someone has never really sat down and written a sales letter before, and they've got a business idea, and say they're already in business, but they've got it's not where they know their business purpose or life purpose really is, and they want to start something new. I think a great exercise if someone wants to get into a new business or sell a new item or sell something is to sit down and write the sales letter first, and don't worry about it being perfect. It's sometimes you have to have the silly thoughts in order to get to the great thoughts. You just sit down and write, and that's one of the recommendations I make to people. Just write the darn letter. I have an idea. I want to sell this. I want to sell that. Do you have a sales letter? No, but I have this great idea. I have one friend, and she has, I swear, she's the nicest, sweetest person, and she has this idea. I don't want to publicly mention her because she listens to all my interviews, and I don't want to irritate her too much. She may know who I'm talking about.
I think I do.
She has this, idea to really help a lot of people become more aware of who it is they are, and she's got this message she's been talking about, and she, it's got a symbol attached to it and everything. And she, I've said, sit down and just record an audio about what this is, what does it do for a person. Have that transcribed, turn it into a sales letter, sit down and write a letter about what this is, what it'll do for people. And I've known her for years, and she has gone to seminar after seminar after seminar. And knowing me, I've taken her to $10,000 a person events and stuff, and she has not produced anything. I mean, she has an idea, and it's never gone beyond, she has nothing to sell. She has a lot of stuff she talks about. She's so sweet, and she's so caring, but she just doesn't put anything together, including anything that'll sell it. I think it's a fundamental psychological fear of success, but beyond that, and I know I may sound like I'm rambling, the point is I think a lot of people just are in that space in varying degrees, and what do you do with that? I think they should just sit down and write a letter, or talk the letter into a recorder if they can't do it any other way and get it transcribed. But what are your thoughts on that sort of stuff?
Absolutely. And, and the funny part is that before I actually put a point on a product or even develop a product fully, I get the sales letter written first, because that's where all the ideas come from. And as you're writing the letter, you're going to think about, what else would be a great benefit in here is this. And so you add that into the letter. So people do it wrong. They think they actually have to make their product first and get a price point on it. Then they write the copy to fit the product, but that's wrong. Write the sales letter, then develop the product to exceed the expectations of the sales letter.
That is awesome. You said it more eloquently than I certainly attempted to do. The point I want to make in that you just said is that when you write the copy creates a better product.
Yes.
The copy creates a better service. Part of selling something or creating a new business or starting something has to do with canning and cloning what's in your head, what's about it, why you think it's so valuable, what the offer is. And if you do that, you will end up with a better product. And like you said, you can actually create the product to exceed what the copy is, and then you're in the situation of under-promising and over-delivering, which is usually not the experience that most people have.
Right. And, and today it's so much easier to start a business than any other time ever because of the Internet, right? Because you have access to every single one of your competitors, you can see what's working, right? People, again, the entrepreneurs, they make this mistake. They call up their buddy and they say, oh, will you comp me on your product? I'm going to start something like that. Comp me on your product. That's the wrong thing to do. You subscribe to your competitors, right? Then you watch what they do. You watch their sales funnel, right? And then you know what you do? You do the same thing. You do it better, cheaper, and faster. That's how you beat your competition, right? You don't go and ask people to comp you on things. You pay for them, you look at them, you study them, then you do it better, faster, and cheaper.
That is such great advice, and I love the way you describe it. It is a real business. You want it to be fun, you want it to be enjoyable, but at the same time, if you don't take it seriously, it's never going to get off the ground.
Yeah.
That's and I would recommend if someone really is challenged with starting, read The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. It's a fantastic book.
Love it.
Stephen's a friend of mine, and it's just awesome. But that's great. So let me ask you about this with the limited time we have, MaryEllen. You wrote a great article on your website, Working Moms Only, which is 3 simple rules for making $1 million deals.
Yep.
And I think for someone starting out or for a entrepreneur, I think I'm going to email this article over to Richard Branson because I think he'll really like it because I think this is the way he operates in many ways. And you have 3 rules. The first rule is know the person behind the business. The second rule is only make deals that will benefit your customer. And the third rule is only make deals that will benefit your organization. I'd like you to briefly talk about these 3 rules because I think they are fantastic, and I think if someone from this day forward really took this sort of approach as you build and grow your business, it will just make it a lot easier for you. So the first one is know the person behind the business. What do you mean by that?
Well, you don't do business with businesses, right? You don't do business with another business. You do business with a person, right? When I do business with Piranha Marketing Joe, I'm doing business with you. So for me, it was so important to know you, to know your values, your mission. It's very important that you deal with people who share the same values in business. Else it's going to be a real deal breaker. You're not going to get anything done. So before I do business with anybody, I meet them in person. If there's been a couple times where that hasn't happened, and you know what? It's always come back to bite me. All right. I mean, I remember, and even people that I get great references from. I think that Jeff Walker's a great example. Rich Sheffrin was telling me, you've got to meet Jeff. He's got a great product. He'd be great for your conferences. And I said, well, I don't know Jeff. I'm not going to just I've never seen Jeff. I've never met him, even though I've heard he's great. I'm not going to just have him come and speak at my conference. So, Rich called Jeff, and Jeff was called me and said, please come out to my conference. I'll fly you out. Let's just meet and we'll talk. And I did that. I flew out to, I live in Boca. I flew out to Colorado. I met with Jeff. I saw him speak. I saw the people behind his organization. And 3 weeks later, he was speaking at my conference, right? I mean, it's the same thing, with Tim Ferriss, that I was introduced to him via email through David Cross. And Tim and I, had a nice phone conversation. We realized we were both going to be in New York, 2 weeks later. And boom, we're having breakfast, and then he ended up writing an ETR, right? I mean, but I always make sure that I believe in the person behind the company.
Yeah, that's such good advice, because so many people, they just don't take the time to really get to know someone, and, it could take a lifetime to build a great reputation, and like my friend Dave Kekich said, a moment of stupidity to destroy it, so get to know the people behind the organization, and make sure they're the real deal, make sure they're awesome people, and secondly, even if they are, your second rule is only make deals that will benefit your customers, because you can have a really great person that has a great product, but it may not be a real fit for what it is that you're doing. And so what's your second rule? Only make deals that will benefit your customer. Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, and it's funny because, again, a lot of entrepreneurs have a problem with this. That, they have a lot of friends, and they just want to help them out, and they want to do things. But it's got to benefit your customers. I mean, I remember a couple summers ago, somebody came to me with a product that I knew the copy was great, right? The copy was great, and I knew we could sell it out the wazoo. But I looked at the product, and I said, this product does not meet the promises in this copy. This product is not good for my customers. So I passed on the deal. And gosh, through the summer, I kept hearing from other affiliates and JV partners that this person had, and they were bragging about how much money they were making from this, okay? But then, by the end of the summer, the refunds were 60, 65%, 70%, okay? So when you have refunds like that, you are destroying your credibility. You are, ruining your relationship with your customers. So, yeah, I could have made money, right? But it would have been really bad for my customers, so I passed on the deal.
Yeah, that's so sound. I mean, that is so sound, and a lot of people, if you've not experienced that sort of situation, if you are flippant about this, I can assure you you will come across a period of time where you're either overly trusting, or you don't do enough due diligence, and you don't really think that your clients are real human beings. They're not just a big herd of mindless idiots that are buying stuff from you. I mean, they're real human beings, and if you don't take care of them, they will abandon you, and they will say very bad things about you in the abandonment process. And people for years have always, how can you keep selling things to the cleaning industry? I mean, haven't you gone to another niche? You're going to cream the best people in the very beginning, and then they're going to go, to the bottom feeders. And I mean, there's all this weird terminology that people use to describe markets, and part of it is just continually creating value and not introducing things to people that aren't going to help them. So I really, even if there's money to be made, some money is not good money, because in the long run it will destroy or undermine the value of the relationship. So only do things that will continue to add value and create value. And that's what this article describes, which is why everyone really needs to go and read it and just print it out. I think this is not only a great read, but it's something that people can always use as a reference to go back to whenever they're doing deals. So the third rule says, only make deals that will benefit your organization. What do you mean by that?
Well, one of my very favorite business books is Good to Great by Jim Collins, right? Probably one of the best business books ever written. And in that book, he talks about what it takes to be a level 5 leader. And when you're a level 5 leader, you will do anything for the good of your company. And I say that with caveats, right? But let's just take for example that your best friend says, I know you need a vendor, that sells, hats really cheap that you can put a logo on. Well, that's what my husband does. Can you interview him? Could you, for that position, or could you buy the hats from him? And basically, of course, you go through the process and you look at this person's company, but at the end of the day, if your best friend's husband is not the best person for that job, you've got to pass on it, right? You've got to go with the vendor who's going to give your company the best quality, the best value, right? You just can't do favors that are going to be bad for your company. If you could use that person because it is the best person for the job, or the position, the project, great. But if they are not the absolute best person that you would have chosen, then you should not choose them. You do what's best for your organization. And
awesome.
It's hard. And I came to ETR, and at that time we only had a staff of 12. And these were nice people, but I had to go in there, and I fired, out of 12 people, I fired 5 of them. And, Michael Masterson said to me, I knew they needed to go, but I just can't fire people, right? So it's just one of those things that I don't like. I don't like firing people. It's the worst thing you ever have to do, but you do it with respect, and you do it so that person has their dignity, but you have to do it. You have to do what is best for your company, because you have an obligation to everyone else in your organization and to your customers.
Do you think that had one of the reasons why you grew ETR from $8 million to $26 million in literally 15 months? Is because you...
Absolutely. You bring in the right people. I mean, who was it? Bill Gates, right? I mean, or Jack Welch, right? I mean, it's all about the people. It's all about the people. And I talk about this all the time. Ideas are useless until you put them into action. Well, you could have great ideas and, great marketing, but if you don't have the right people implementing that in your company's not going to flourish.
Let me ask you about that, too, in the limited time we have left here, because there are a lot of people, and I've used this as an excuse myself, and I'm just curious to how you would respond to this, where you have really nice, caring people in your organization, but you find yourself second-guessing yourself or questioning if they're doing a good job or not. And then the question becomes, well, is it let's just use me as an example. Is it me as an entrepreneur, or is it the person? And, obviously it could be a combination of both. But what is your criteria of knowing when you don't have someone on the right, that's not the right person on the team? I mean, what are the indicators that a lot of people rationalize and justify away so that they don't have to fire someone or get rid of them? Any tips or suggestions on that?
To me, relationships all come down to respect, first of all, right? And, and I see this all the time, that the people who usually aren't doing the great job are usually the people, they can be a nice, good person, but they're not really they're coming in just, maybe 5 minutes late, they're taking longer lunches, they're talking on the phone, they're not taking your business seriously. you know? And so, like, everyone is always like, well, how can you fire that person? They need this job. But look at them. Look at what they're doing. You know, if they need the job, they come in early. They do everything they can to make sure that they are becoming a superstar in your business. You know, I joke about this because I got that nickname, the Money Honey, you know, in this world because I could make money. And at first, you know, I was a little insulted, but then I said, you know what? It's good to be the Money Honey, right? It is a good person who can bring in money to a company, because when you can do that, you have, and I hate this word, but I don't know a better word right now, you have a certain amount of power, right? When you're bringing in that money, and that power lends to things like, you know, more time off, higher paychecks, you know, flexibility, right? Because you know what you're doing. And I don't, like, you know, I'm not a big stickler on work hours. I'm a big stickler on getting the job done. And I don't care if people are doing it, you know, when they're doing it. If they're getting it done, they're getting it done, and that's fine. But when people aren't getting it done and they're not taking it seriously, then they're not respecting you. And so you can't have any relationship without that respect.
Such sound advice. I love the line, are they becoming a superstar in your business? And if not, I mean, then you simply need to either have a real, Godfather talk with them, or you need to get rid of them, because you're not helping yourself and you're certainly not helping them. And so that's awesome.
Most entrepreneurs don't like to fire people, and they don't like coaching it. So what they'll do is they'll let it go. Then they'll just blow up. And this person's like, what? It's been going on for like 6 months. I don't see what the problem is. So you nip it in the butt, you know, you nip it right away. And somebody should be on their best behavior when they first start. You know, if they're starting with you and they're coming in late and they've got, you know, emergency here, emergency there, it's only going to go downhill from there.
Yeah, you're right. You know, the whole saying, rotting food in the refrigerator does not get better with age. It gets worse.
Right.
So
right, exactly.
So the whole rotten roots create rotten fruit. So that's good. And even if you're listening and you don't even have a team right now, in the process of building a team, this will totally make the difference. And so, MaryEllen, I want to do a follow-up interview with you. Obviously, I'd like the listeners of Genius Network to give me their feedback on what they thought of this. You are so filled with so much knowledge. You're just one of the sharpest entrepreneurs that I know. You're a full-blown, focused, direct response marketer, and I know that you are going to help literally tens of thousands and millions, most likely, of women with Working Moms Only. So, famous last words. Anything else you'd like to leave people with for now? Because I know this is just the start. I hope people go and visit your website. I hope they read your book. I'm certainly going to get this interview out to all of my subscribers, and I will give my subscribers permission to share this interview with anyone that they think would benefit from it, male or female, and to think about different women that exist in your life, working moms that would so benefit on so many ways by sharing this interview, because you're not only helping them, you're helping their children, you're helping their children's children. So the message and the information that you've shared, I think, is critical and so beneficial. Famous last words.
Invest in yourself. Every single day, do something that's going to benefit your life, whether it's reading a great book or listening to a great, CD or watching a DVD. But when you invest in yourself, you have it forever. So, I mean, that's, something I live by.
Awesome. Okay, so workingmomsonly.com. Any other things that they should do to find out more information about yours? It's pretty much all there.
It's all there. Go to workingmomsonly.com. Sign up. I have a free newsletter that goes out twice a week. On my board, I'll just mention this, on my panel of experts, I've got spectacular women like Mariel Hemingway and Ellie Drake and Joyce Bone, and we just have a panel of experts that you're going to hear from as well. So with the 2 issues a week, I'm there. It's me on Monday, and then on Thursday, it'll be one of my guest panelists.
That is awesome. You're doing great stuff. I really love always talking with you and doing the interview. So, MaryEllen Tribby, thank you so much, and have yourself a wonderful day. And to all of our listeners, put it into action, make it happen. Go read the simple rules for making millions of dollar deals on MaryEllen's website right now, and please keep us informed of your success. Thank you.
Hello, this is Joe Polish. I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to this interview. I hope you found it very useful. Please give me your feedback on all of the interviews that you listen to. I'd love to hear your feedback so we can always deliver a great program for you. Our website is www.joepolish.com, and we also have a Joe Polish Recommends section, so you can take a lot of the ideas and concepts that you hear on my Genius Network interview series and apply them to your business and find vendors and resources. You can go to joepolish.com to find that information and click on the Joe Polish Recommends section. And also, if you would like to find out about more interviews and invest in more useful Genius Network series interviews, go to www.geniusnetwork.com. Thanks, and eat your competition alive.